Hi, Claire.
Hi, Henna. How are
Welcome,
you?
welcome to our little gathering of togetherness. So today we're going to be talking, well, I want to intro you first, because I think it's really important that everyone that's going to be watching this knows who you are.
Yeah.
Claire is a Reiki practitioner. She's the owner of the Healing Heart. Well, she's much more than a healer. She's a coach. She's a qualified hypnotherapist. She's helped hundreds, if not thousands, of people to heal and to get in touch with not only their spiritual and emotional self, but to really clear what I would describe, because of my journey with Claire, is lots of trapped energy, both emotionally and physically. I've gone to Claire for years now for Reiki and would not go to anybody else, but our relationship has developed into so much more than that, and I really consider Claire a spiritual guru. So I wanted you guys to be introduced to Claire, for those of you that don't know her already, and I wanted us to talk about some really important things that have probably been coming up for lots of us during this period of isolation. Claire and I have had lots of conversations, and we felt that this would be a great platform to share with you what we've been going through, because we know that if we're going through it, there are so many more people that are going through the same thing too. So today we're going to be talking, Claire, what's the title of our chat today? Because you came up with it. I thought it was beautiful.
Yeah, it's about peace in the process, because life is a process, life is a journey. So yeah, peace in the process, finding peace at this time.
Yeah.
And this time obviously is a time of great change for a lot of people. It's unprecedented what's happening, and there's people at varying different degrees suffering and dealing with anxiety, stress, and as human beings, we all know we just don't like change. Simple. So it's about how we cope and manage with that change.
Right, cope and manage. And that's the thing, isn't it? Because lots of people are probably hearing from a million different avenues about what they should be doing. But I think we can all sort of profoundly accept that on some level we're all feeling a bit disconnected and isolated.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And as much as right now is about, I feel, an opportunity to slow down and work on ourselves and maybe spend a bit more time with ourselves. What I've noticed definitely happening over the last few weeks, particularly during this period of isolation, I feel like people have just been projecting outwardly a lot, so through social media and different channels. And I wonder how many of us are just sort of anxiously living with this kind of new way of being, which is, I can't distract myself and do all the familiar things that I would, jump in my car and go and do something, go to the gym, and I wonder how many people are now being confronted with just having to sort of face their own feelings about what's going on, because in many ways we are physically and mentally trapped, aren't we? So
Absolutely.
one of the things that I really wanted to talk to you about, because you gave me so much insight when we were talking the other day, was about the kind of levels of feelings that people are going through this time.
Yeah.
We can do to deal with those in a really positive way.
Yeah, I mean, for me, what I was thinking about, and obviously when I was speaking to you, was about sort of how I actually managed to deal with it myself, because obviously I am a human being, and everybody, no matter who you are on the planet, is going to feel some form of shift, change, and we have to adapt quite quickly. I mean, it happened overnight. The world literally changed. It felt like overnight, very quickly. We've never been in this situation before, so most people feel anxiety, stress, depression when dealing with the unknown, because it's fear that comes up in your system immediately. And one of my first things to do was there's three things that are really important. The first one was to honor my emotions. And I talk about this, you know this, Henna, you know that I love to talk about emotion. It's my thing, because I think what we do a lot is suppress emotions. We don't honor them. We kind of shove them down. We get embarrassed. We feel shame. We don't want to get emotional. We want to present to the world, wear the mask, as if we are still the same person and we've got all our stuff down. Everything's good. But for me, I just thought, no, I'm going to rip the plaster off this one. I'm going to deal with it, because guess what I've got? I've got the most valuable commodity, more than money. I've got time. So I'm gonna take the time out. I'm going to afford myself the time I'm not going to distract myself, and I'm going to let whatever wants to come up, because it's like an ocean. When that wave hits, and you know this, there's nothing that can stop the tears. There's nothing that can stop. We are actually going through a time, I think, of almost like grieving. We're grieving our old lives, our old ways of being. And it's about, first of all, for me, the first thing you've got to do is be able to let go, be able to honor your emotions, because it's healthy. It's not a bad thing to cry. You know, I always talk about crying as a way of release, as a safety valve, so that you're not suppressing all that emotion, because it's then stored in your body, and then that causes you discomfort, and then that leads to other stuff. So we don't want to do that. We want to cut that off straight away. So for me, it was honoring my emotions. It was important, first of all, and also sharing those emotions with others. I think that's really, really important, like we're doing and have done. Because to share it means that, you know, I'm not alone, because that's another thing right now. We feel alone. We're isolated. Some people are living on their own. Some people don't have families around them. Some people are living in flats, and I've heard people saying, you know, oh, I'd rather go to work than be at home, because they're actually they don't know how to be at home. They're not at home. That's not something they're used to on uncharted territory. So again, you know, not feeling alone, and give people the permission to then share with you, because once you share, it's so powerful that I've been feeling anxious, or I've not slept, or I felt, you know, sick, or whatever it is within your own emotional self, you know, then that gives other people power then to go, oh, you know what? Permission to just go, I feel the same. And then, you know, you're not alone.
And what's so interesting about that is that we are typically we're so sort of poker faced, aren't we? If we're going through things in life, we don't really share, even with our nearest and dearest sometimes. And right now, I'm suspecting that so many people are just trying to keep a lid on how they're feeling, because when you're living in an extended family, even with your wife and your kids, and there's no respite, you can't get away, lots of people are going to feel even more anxious about talking about their feelings, because in a way it's kind of like, if I talk about how I'm feeling and how bad I'm feeling, or unhappy with what, you know, the situation and being here with you guys, what does that then mean in terms of the structure of our relationship, and also then how you're going to be feeling. And I feel in particular for men, you know, women maybe are slightly better talking about their emotions or having a cry.
Absolutely.
So many men at the moment are going to just be so emotionally struggling, because they're supposed to be the protectors, right? This, you know, the safeguarders, the ones that have got it all together. And I wonder how many men are struggling to actually say, you know what, this is really shit for me, because and not being able to articulate it and not talk about it. So I think it's important too. I think communicating and sharing and talking and creating that safe space and knowing that it's okay to do that is really important. And number two, doing that, what you'll realize is, and this has happened in my life and your life, when you open and you're vulnerable, suddenly it allows the other person to go, oh my God, me too. Thank you for telling me that, because I felt like,
absolutely,
you know. And what we end up doing is we feel like we're mentally or emotionally supporting each other by not talking, but often that's the very opposite truth, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And it's just knowing that it's okay. Like, some people haven't been raised in families or had social situations where it's okay to be vulnerable, and that's what I always look to provide, is a space for myself and for others to be able to feel safe, to be held, to be vulnerable, because that's the stuff that, I don't care who you are on the planet, I don't care how much money, what job you do, where you were raised, where you were born, every single person has vulnerability, and actually vulnerability is strength, and to be able to show it is really brave, and it will make you stronger, because once you've faced it,
right,
that's it, you know.
Taught me that. You've taught me vulnerability, strength, because that is the thing that I've run away from my whole life. It's like, I can't break down, I can't cry, I can't show weakness. I just didn't know how to deal with it. You know, for me,
and once you've done it, then the overwhelming emotion, because you've honored it, because you've given it time and given it airspace, it's like a little child, almost like a little 3-year-old. Hey, you know, once you give that child the attention it needs, which is like your naughty little emotions, then that's it, they can go off, and you will find that it dissipates, that emotion. being able to express it and being able to release it and being able to you know, to share it. It's a problem shared is a problem halved, they say, don't they? So
yeah, right. And what I would also say to people who feel like they can't talk about it genuinely, some people just get stuck and they can't, but I feel like getting it out is so important. So what I sometimes do is, if I'm struggling with something, I will just write it or blurt it all out, you know, on a piece of paper on my laptop, and then, you know, and delete it. But I feel just, it's so cathartic just getting it off my plate and not keeping it inside, because when I don't express how I'm feeling and then I tell myself I'm fine, it will come up later and it will be 10 times worse. And I've learned that from years and years being in that.
Yeah, no, definitely. When you make that commitment to put something from your mind, from your heart onto a page, it can have an amazing effect. I once had a client who was struggling with family and really struggling with her brothers and sisters, her siblings, and I said to her, she said, what can I do, and I said, okay, what do you want to do? And she said, I'd like to talk to them, but I can't. And I said, well, why don't you write them a letter? Because she said, when I try to speak to them, they cut her off, then she never gets a chance to finish a sentence. I said, so if you write a letter, you get to say everything without being interrupted. How powerful is that? They're going to hear what you're saying, and they've got time to go back and read it again and again and again. And that process of you actually being able to say everything will be a release for you, that pent up sort of frustration. So yeah, and it changed their relationship. So that, because she wrote letters instead of actually, you know, speaking. And and again, going on to like what we were saying about even creating space and having, I mean, for me, this is the next thing that I did. I thought, let me create some space. Henna, as you know, I love my space, but I literally thought, right, I'm going to create space and I'm going to plan not to plan. So that's one of the things I love, is having a day where I know techno free. So switch your phone off. You can do this. Oh my God. You're free of the phone. Plan not to plan. So basically, like literally thinking, right, which days, almost like having sort of a loose structure, because obviously routine does serve us. So it's not about getting rid of everything, but it's just about having a little space, which we never really have the luxury of doing because we don't have the luxury of time, is to actually go, right, let me, you know, have a day or an hour in a day or whatever it is, whatever you can manage with your lifestyle. I think it's good for people to be able to do that. I mean, it's so good. I remember our last holiday. I said, right, to my partner, I'm not having my phone. And he looked at me mortified. I was like, no phone. And he was like, wow. So then he didn't have his phone, and we had the most relaxing time, uninterrupted. No thinking, oh, right. And even if your phone is a distraction, can be a distraction, it's a beautiful thing because we can connect with people, and that's important. But it's about redressing the balance, changing the way of doing things. We've got an opportunity to actually have less technology around us and be a slave to the phone.
I know. Well, what's interesting is that people are going to be finding things to do because we're not used to not having things to do. And I know kind of like, oh, everything slowed down. So I found myself just finding things to do and then saying to myself, what the hell are you doing? Because this isn't going to last forever. We don't know how long it's going to go on for, but the thing we can guarantee is not going to go on forever. So we're never going to get back to, you know, ever again, are we? So it's important to do less, or to do more meaningful things, or to stop and to do the things that aren't necessarily about you having to do something, like fixing up the house, or maybe just doing something for yourself, which many of us find hard to do because it's almost like, how dare I do something for myself? You know, I go through those feelings all the time. And especially now, people are going to feel the need to do so that they feel some sort of validation throughout this process, because lots of people are going to be out of sorts. Okay, so that was brilliant. I really like that, because I think that in itself is going to give people, hopefully it will, I don't know, encourage people to talk. And that's what you and I have always talked about. It's about how do we create a forum for people to speak and speak their truth and speak from a place of authenticity, even if they're scared, right? And I'm hoping that this, when it goes out, will allow people to at least think about that and do that.
Yeah, to acknowledge it. And an important point that you made there as well, Hannah, is the guilt. So many people that I've spoke to have felt guilty for not working. Business owners, I can't work. Oh my God, I'm worthless because I can't work. Or that's their identity. Work is who they are. If they don't go to work, they don't feel accomplished. They don't feel fulfilled. They don't feel like they're properly performing as a human being, and feeling guilty about doing nothing because, you know, is it laziness? Well, no, actually, we're having a life holiday here. If you're not ill, God forbid, in hospital or anything, you know, actually you're able to have a life holiday. When have we ever had this before? This is a golden opportunity to really, really, really be off work and not feel guilty.
But it's scary because it's like venturing into the unknown. It's sort of like the forbidden fruit. It's like, it kind of doesn't almost feel real. It's like, how can we be in a place and still, you know, be relatively okay in the safety of our own home? It is so overwhelming. I mean, the things that I felt for sure are overwhelm, disorientation, uncertainty, you know, bouts of insecurity, because you doubt, once your structure starts to fall apart and the fabric of your life starts to change, a lot of the insecurities that you feel about yourself come to the surface because they've got nowhere to hide. Because you can't jump in the car and have a coffee with your friend anymore. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like, oh God, you've got to deal with it. And so connection is very, very important, especially for those people that feel isolated. And one of the things that was beautiful was, you know, as much as we can talk about how bad we feel and a lot of the uncertainty and anxiety, but this is also a beautiful time for sharing and really just sort of remembering and appreciating the people that you love who you can't see. You know, I went to my mum and dad's to see them from a distance. They've been away for months. I couldn't hug them, you know, couldn't be in proximity through them. It was sort of through the glass thing, and it just really hit me hard. Like, wow, the gravity of the situation when you see people that you love and you can't embrace them. I mean, you know,
that's powerful. And I think a lot of people after this process will appreciate things more, because when we can't have them, unfortunately, as humans, when we can't have something, then we suddenly appreciate it more. You know, being able to just touch someone's hand. I saw a lady on the street, she dropped her glove. You know how irritating it is when you lose one of your favourite gloves or something, and she dropped her glove, and I was shouting and she couldn't hear me, and I was thinking, oh my God, how am I going to go and get the glove? Now, normally I'd just go and get the glove and take it to her, but I thought, I can't, because I've got this 2 metre thing. There might be virus on a glove. I can't, you know what I mean? So I was like, what do I do? So we ran down the road. So I was like, what's she doing? Shouted to this lady, and she's like, right, okay, thanks. And this poor woman had to go all the way back to get a glove. And I thought, look at that situation, just a normal everyday situation.
Isn't it crazy that even that is underlined by fear? Because ordinarily your natural instincts, which is loving and to be caring and to go and, you know, retrieve the glove and give it, even that on a basic human level, it stopped, and it's upsetting. You know, I go for a walk with the kids, we see another family with kids, and everyone's got to have this like distance, and it's so awkward. Some people can't look you in the eye because they feel so embarrassed. Other people don't want to look at you because they're terrified about what you've got, you know, particularly if you've got kids around you. And then other people like, well, you know, so it's really, really hard to know what to do and how to feel, because it's an overwhelming box of emotions. You know, we're in week 3, towards the end of week 3. Feel like the new normal, and I would still say I'm still going through a lot of those feelings. You know, there's always something new every day, and then, you know, you get on the news and you hear, oh, we've had the highest level of deaths recorded, and it's more than Italy, and suddenly you start to think, panic stations, everyone's panicking. It's like, oh my, you know, and my brother works for the NHS, and, you know, he's on the front line. You just think, oh my God. And then I honestly, my mum called me today for some random conversation, and I burst into tears. Sobbing on. Honestly. So I know that so many people are going through the same things, and I think what you and I just want to say is that you're not alone, right? Because we've all gone through it.
Absolutely, in so many different ways, and similar experiences to yourself. But it's about your capacity, and what I want to share is, you know, about how you can do small little changes, very small little things that will have a big impact on how you handle this situation, because they've worked for me. And I think it is about, you know, what I decided was my structure, my daily structure was going to be around doing the things that I've always wanted to do, but I never get to do. Instead of doing what I have to do, doing what I want to do. So that, I know.
Do what you want to do.
Okay. Do what you want to do with a little bit of what you have to do. Okay. Obviously, you've still got that because you have to do certain things, but like just enjoying it. So most of the time we have this inner rush and we just rush through life and we don't even realize how fast we're going. It is so hard to go from, even if you're driving in your little car, it's so hard to go from like 100 miles an hour down to 0 miles an hour. It's just impossible. So that's how you have to see it. Let's come down incrementally in stages. Let's take it down. So in my daily plan, I started with projects of things that I wanted to do around my little house, because that's where I'm confined to, obviously. But I just thought, well, no, I'm not going to look at it from a victim mentality. I'm going to look at this as a blessing, and I'm going to see it as something that I can do. So at the time that I can take to do things that I really want to do. So I started with house projects, little things around the garden. It got me outside. It got me connecting with nature. It got me to take my time and enjoy my space. And I felt really good doing it. So I went the path of least resistance, Henna. I didn't want to go, right, and now just stop and force myself to stop and be still. No, I thought, let me take it down from like 100 to 70 miles an hour and let me still do some stuff. And in that time, I put my headphones in and I was listening to, you know, meditational music and things like this to change my energy, to make me feel calm. And that's what I did in the green space. And I felt like, yeah, that was a good release for me. So that's something people can do if you've got a garden space, or if you haven't, get out to the park, because we are allowed to leave the house. So I know a lot of people are still, you know, in fear, but you could take an hour of the day and just and go and walk in some green space. I know that you do walks and you find that really beneficial.
Huge difference to my day. Spending time in the garden's lovely, don't get me wrong, but the moment I'm out and I've gone for a walk in nature on my own or with the kids, I automatically feel different. And if I compare the days where I haven't done it to the days that I have, the days I have, I've slept better, I felt calmer, less anxious, and I've just felt happier. I mean, I always feel happy in the trees. You know, I'm sure more people would recognize that if they actually went out of their way to do that. So now we have to, you know, it's a responsibility that we have to ourselves to get out. The weather's amazing. Don't be stupid, of course, you know, people sunbathing and stuff, but to get out there and walk and to be amongst nature, it's glorious. I am finding myself slowing down because I have to. I've got no choice. Never at any point in my life, particularly over the last 20 years, have I slowed down. I've been sick. I've got in my car and I've gone to Costa, or I've gone to the gym, or stupid things. And this is the slowest I've ever been, and my body does not know what to do with itself. It's just going nuts. So,
but I'm sure over the last 20 years, there was a time where you said, I wish I had more time. I just need time to just do me and And we all say it. And then when you're given it, wow.
We don't know what to do with it. Actually, you know what the truth of the matter is? We're never taught to create space for ourselves. We're taught to do and then to do more. So that's the society and the culture we live in. And even social media is a massive influencer of that way of being too. It's about the next thing. You know, I find myself being so influenced by the buying bug when I go, oh, I want that. And then I'm just like, oh my God, we're constantly living outside of ourselves. And one of the things I think that's really concerned me is people are now stuck at home. We're going to be looking at our phones more than ever because we're going to have time. How many people are going on Instagram and then feeling shitter about their own lives because people are still putting on the perfect things or old pictures or whatever it is? One of the things I would encourage is spend less time on social media. One, because you're going to be seeing and listening and absorbing content that's not necessarily going to be the best for your mental state of mind.
Absolutely, 100%. That's why I said techno-free, because even the news, Henna, I don't watch the news. I'm not going to watch the death toll every single day. I'm just not going to do it. I'll tune in for important stuff. Obviously, it's funny because years ago, as you know, I suffered with anxiety. I suffered with panic attacks. And I remember watching the news, a good 2001 it was. And I literally burst into tears. I felt so helpless with what I was seeing on the news that I couldn't change anything. And I felt sad and I didn't know what to do with that emotion. And I was crying so much. I vowed I'd never watch the news again. And I haven't really watched it since then. And I've not watched the news in 20 years. It's not really affected my life. It's not made a massive difference at all. I've actually lived that because I thought, this is all this is doing. It's bad news. Bad news is good news, as they say. So all it does is reinforce the bad. Why do I need my mental state constantly being reinforced with negativity? I mean, at the end of the day, you know, we're still alive, some of us, and we should be thankful for that, grateful for that, and then just, do as much as we can. Like you say, we can connect with our family in different ways now. And I think there's a more quality of time. We've even connected with our neighbours that we haven't even spoken to before. And that's what's happening in the world. People are playing, we saw two guys playing tennis in the back garden, two family members. People are doing things that are just random, but so good. And do you know what one person said? It reminds me of the 80s. The roads are quieter, there's less traffic, there's less pollution. Nature has come closer. I've had a robin redbreast in my garden, literally practically landing on my shoulder. Unreal. A squirrel came up to my partner the other day. He was screaming. I was like, what's going on? It was a squirrel. It's like, and a pigeon hit me in the head with its wing. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what is going on with nature? It's happier. Like, it's coming close, it's coming in, because it doesn't feel like all this humdrum and noisy humans like scaring them away all the time. So they feel more how it should be. It should be more natural. Yeah. And we should be more connected. And another thing that I wanted to say is, like, because this is something that I did. I opened up all the windows in my house. I lit incense. This was another thing that I promised myself. And I put incense in my house, and I opened up all the windows, and I decluttered.
And you just cleared out all the energy, because you've taught me that, haven't you? You need
clearing your space.
Exactly. And that's something I want to talk about, that is bringing sort of a spiritual element to this, but I think it's so important because we've got now the opportunity to connect. It isn't about religion, it's about connecting with something higher than ourselves. And the truth of the matter is, we are energy, aren't we? And the energy in our homes is actually very conducive to how we feel when we're at home. One of the first things that I did when I moved into our new house was I had you come over and you cleansed it, and you did your prayers, and it was beautiful. And actually, I have a lot of crystals in my home too, and a lot of people that come to our home, the first thing they say is, wow, it's got a beautiful energy. We deliberately, yeah, and so this is the thing. What can we do to create just a nicer space in our homes, no matter what shape or size it is, no matter if we have access to a garden? So there are things that we can do, right? So what are some easy things that we can do?
Yeah, easy things. I mean, like, if you don't have incense, it is good to burn incense because it changes the energy, the perfumes and everything else. I mean, particularly, you've got sage. A lot of people commonly know about sage now. It never used to be. I've been smudging my house out for years, like with a bowl going round. When my partner met me, he was like, what the heck is going on? And I'm like smudging him. But yeah, I cleanse the energy of my house. I open up the windows, because energy gets stagnant, as it does in our bodies, it does in our physical space. And you've got people like Marie Kondo now who are talking about cleansing, burning incense, using a tuning fork with a crystal to open up the energy, asking your house for permission to clear the space and clear clothes and clear clutter. Because actually, do we really need all the stuff we have? We are actually, in the UK, the highest on record for being hoarders. And hoarding has now been recognised as a mental illness, because people struggle. It is an emotional thing. But I think on a smaller level, just open up the windows, burn some incense if you've got some. You can always order some online. Sage is a good one to start with. And you can just even do prayers in each room, say a little prayer in each room and thank the house, just change the way you look at the space and get rid of rubbish. I come from a family of hoarders, so I know how difficult that can be. I had my cousin who wanted to rent out his house, and he rang me just as the virus started to increase. Yeah. And he was like, help me. And I was like, okay, do me a little FaceTime of your house. And he did. And I went, right, okay, number one, clear out all the rubbish. Yeah. Just clear the rubbish. There's so much clutter that we have that we just don't need. A lot of people do this. There's a lot more people doing this in other countries. especially in places like Scandinavia, Denmark, and places like that everywhere. You know, and there was a movement as well called the minimalist movement, and just thinking about, you know, how that can create more joy in your life and bring more space, because your house, your mind is really important. It needs to be clear, but if your place is cluttered, how can you have a clear mind? And that's how I see it. It's not even about being deep and spiritual. For me, it's like clearing. Sage changes the ions in the atmosphere. Walking by the beach, walking by water, going to the sea, the ions are changed in the atmosphere. So again, you're taking in more, you know, fresh quality of air. You're taking in more oxygen into the blood. That's much more healthy for you. It's better for your mental state. It helps you to relax. It helps your respiratory system. So it's just all the health benefits for me as well. Like, how can that contribute to my well-being overall? So, I mean, obviously, along with eating well, obviously, that is a major thing. But that was something that I had to do, because I felt like, oh my gosh, we're going into a new period. So to mark this new period, I'm going to cleanse the house of what's in the past and bring whatever's new. Let it be. So that's almost me surrendering and saying, whatever's going to be is going to be. I'm just going to trust, you know?
Yeah, well, what's so interesting about decluttering and letting go is once you get over the emotional baggage that you have, you know, associated with your clothes or your things, actually, once you go through the process, you just feel so much lighter. And we've talked about this before. It is like letting go of dead weight. You know, when we moved into this house, we literally had a rail till our bedroom wardrobes being built. And so and you know what? I actually didn't need anything else. And I relied on that rail for about 4 months, and I just thought, oh my God, you have all of this stuff that you didn't need, that you didn't use, and you'll never need it. And then soon after I went back to buying more stuff, which is terrible. So one of the things that I've definitely used this as an opportunity to just clear out my wardrobes and just put loads of charity bags together. And I can't wait to be able to go and drop those off. But the process of doing that actually just made me go, oh,
and breathe.
Yeah. So clearing the space is really important. Use sage or prayers or anything that you can do, and just basic stuff like opening your windows and letting the fresh air in. Oh my God, the breeze. You know those beautiful sunny days where you open your doors and windows and it's like being by the beach. That's what we can do at this moment in time to make our spaces nicer. And then the other thing we can do is, obviously, if you want to take things sort of to a more spiritual dimension, you know, sage is beautiful, and Palo Santo, we also talk about that. Palo Santo is a beautiful, sweet smell. That's about prosperity and bringing all that in. Right now, it's about being as hopeful as we can. So how can we prep and prime ourselves mentally to sort of, apart from walking in nature and cleansing our houses, what else can we be doing sort of to support ourselves more mentally during this process? I mean, one of the things that you advocate massively is meditation, don't you? But for those people that see meditation as woo-woo, or as I've tried it, I can't do it, or I don't want to do it, it's ridiculous. I mean, I have tried it and I found it difficult, but I've also felt the incredible benefits of doing it. What can you give as a guide to people that want to try it, but may have reservations about it?
Yeah, so I did exactly the same. I have a stepfather who's Buddhist, and he tried to help me to meditate years ago. I just fell asleep. I thought, this is a load of rubbish. I can't do this. This is silly. And how it started for me was my meditation process was doing it guided, having a voice to guide me. So that's number one. But the thing is, you've got to sort of get away from, people think it's about just the cessation of thought. It's not. It's about slowing the mind down. And it's actually combined with like deep diaphragmatic breathing, that, you know, can take you to another space in 5 minutes if you do it effectively. So, okay, you don't need reams and reams of time. You don't have to sit there for hours, cross legs with your hands in prayer position. You literally can meditate anywhere. You can do it for 5 minutes. You can do it for 10 minutes. And then it clears your mind. It helps you to relax. They've proven so many things scientifically from doing meditation. It's not just a spiritual woo-woo practice, in the sense of it reduces anxiety, depression, conditions like fibromyalgia. It helps people to control pain if they're in pain. It's just a wonderful tool to have in your toolbox, regardless. For me, meditation is a daily thing. I do it twice a day minimum. And that was something that I thought, right, I've got no excuses now. I can meditate at a set time every single day, and I'm going to make that commitment to myself. And I know that you have done that 21-day abundance with Deepak Chopra. So that, shows you.
That was my real sort of consistent meditation process. So it was a 21-day meditation by Deepak Chopra. And if you just download the Chopra Institute app, it's free. That's the amazing thing. And it's a guided meditation. And what's so amazing about it was no meditation was longer than 5 minutes. And I just thought that was so smart, because it's a beginner's guide. And I know that if it had been longer than 5 minutes, I might have given up. And I actually started a 21-day challenge, and it was just unbelievable. And do you know what was so amazing? I have a ring, an Aura ring, that measures my quality of sleep. Yes. Before I started doing the meditation, I would not get more than about 45 minutes of deep sleep a night, which is the restorative sleep that you really need, that really sort of helps your cells and your organs regenerate, at the sort of most primal level. And I was getting such little deep sleep and getting loads of REM, which is a dream. As soon as I started meditating, I remember the second or third night in, I checked my score, because I woke up and I felt good. And I checked my score, and I'd had 1 hour and 44 minutes of deep sleep. Let me tell you, in the last 3 or 4 years since I've had that ring, that's unprecedented. And people might just think I'm talking a load of crap, but this kind of carried on consistently for many, many, many nights. And I find now that when I meditate, not on day 1 or day 2, but normally day 3 and day 4, my body starts to go into some kind of reduced anxiety state. And I'm a very anxious person, and I alleviate my anxiety by doing. So you can imagine right now I'm like this, like trying to find things to do, because I don't physically can't do them. And there's only so much exercise and walking and talking you can do. So
meditation, yeah. And I mean, again, like you're saying, it helps with sleep. Yeah. My deep sleep is like, the average for deep sleep is say between 17 and 18 or 19%. Mine is just regularly at like 22%. So Greg, when he met me, my partner met me, he was like, what's going on with you in this sleep? And he'd be tossing and turning. And I was like, you need to meditate. And so I gave him Zen 12, which is on YouTube, you can download. And basically it's just a piece of technology. There's no words. You put your headphones in. It's a left brain, right brain hemisphere thing. So it discombobulates your brain, if you like, and you can then meditate. Well, it meditates for you, so it changes your brainwave frequency to that, as if you were meditating for an hour, but you do it for 12 minutes. So I was like, this is ingenious. When I heard the guy talking about it, I thought, let me see what it's like, let me test it on myself, let me be the guinea pig before I share it with other people. And so that's what I did. I thought, it's always a time thing with people. I haven't got time to sit down. So I gave them this 12-minute technology, and you can just download it free on YouTube. And then I bought the entire series with like 12 levels of Zen, and just absolutely amazing. I found myself doing it in, like reception, waiting for my car in the car dealership, like, oh, I've got 12 minutes. I just put my headphones in. I was like, what are you doing? But it did change me. It changed how I felt, how I approach the day. That's why I like to do it in the morning. It sets the tone for the day. It's really important. I mean, like you say, it's not that you're not going to do anything. You're going to have time to do everything that you want to do. You're just going to do it from a different reality, a different inner perspective, because we live so externally. We have our internal world, and with this virus, unfortunately, obviously, this is not the way we would want it to be, but we do have the opportunity to be able to focus it more inward, and to be able to give ourselves and feed ourselves on the inside, and give it a little bit more time. So for me, it's like, okay, morning, definitely, because I like to set the tone. And then nighttime, we're going to marinate on whatever. So you could do some affirmations just before you go to sleep. You can slow down your breath, and that will activate your vagus nerve, which people may have heard of, and that then lowers your blood pressure, and that helps you to relax into a deeper state. And that's why, meditation is just so invaluable. That's why I always advocate it.
Yeah. So meditation is very important. And what's really interesting just about that is I have often found in my life that when I'm most meant to do something is when I'm most saying to myself, oh, I can't be bothered. Oh no, that's not for me. And that is now the signal to my brain to go, whoa, Stop. You're telling yourself you shouldn't be doing this, having a conversation, going there and doing that, or trying this new thing, then it's definitely something that you need to do, because we have this inherent ability to sometimes be self-destructive, don't we? We know something's good for us, but we just deny it. We deny it, we refuse it, we refuse it. And so for those of you that have been curious about meditation, why not try it and try the easy steps? You know, try the one that you've recommended on YouTube, or try the Deepak Chopra one, and we'll put little links to it. But I think it's an incredible time to start to try new things, and anything that's going to reduce your anxiety. Why not?
Why not? I mean, at this time, you know, that's what you need to do. It does, obviously there's a lot of newness, and I know that feels like an overload. That's why I talk about things like going for walks, clearing you know, don't just try and slow down and stop. Just take it down in gradual stages. You can do yourself a weekly plan, you know, of what you want to do, the areas you want to hit in your life, you know, whether it's to spend time with your kids, focus time with you know, your partner, you know, even reading. Some people want to read and they never get a chance to read. You know, just reading your favorite, something that you've always wanted to do. Just do the stuff that you always wanted to do. That's what I would say. I mean, another thing, like you said, I mean, journaling for me is a massive thing as well. And I journal every day. Have done for like 20 years as well. But journaling, just again, like you say, is really cathartic. It's something that I empty everything inside of me onto a page, and I feel like I can look at my day and I get into this state of gratitude. I've never called it a gratitude journal, but it kind of, like, for me, it's a record of where I am and what progress I've made in my life. And I love that. I can look back. It's like a little snapshot. It's like a book of my life. But it's a very much a personal thing. And I just really love having that as a tool as well.
I have to say that when I was consistently practicing gratitude, and by that what I mean is taking actual time to sit down and write things that I was grateful for, 5 things, 10 things a day, it was the happiest I'd ever been. And it makes absolute sense, because if you focus on the act of sitting down and thinking about what's happened in your day and what you're grateful for, and it can even be something that you just do at night, you know, before bed when you're lying down, you go, right,
Absolutely.
I'm going to mentally go through my day and I'm going to pick the moments that, because you actually relive those moments, and you re-energize your perspective about life. So no matter what bad stuff's happened, there's that constant and daily reminder that life is good, you know, that life is wonderful, because it's the little moments, isn't it? And right now, that's all we've got. We've only got little moments. We haven't got the grand gestures. We haven't got the big holidays. Everything that is happening, it's like, I played out in the garden with my kids today, and we just laughed, and it was just amazing. Or I sat on my own and I had a lolly. That was me yesterday, one of these ice lollies, and I was just sat there, the sun beaming on my face, and I was like, this is just heaven. I'm truly grateful for this moment. You know what I mean? And so one of the things that I've started doing again, because I stopped doing it foolishly, was I've started doing my attitude of gratitude, I call it. So first thing I do when I sit down in my office and Rafi's homeschooling behind me, I get my laptop and I just do whatever the day is, 5 things I'm grateful for, just generally in my life. And then at night before bed, what I do is I lay there and go, what 5 things happened today that I'm just grateful for? Tiniest things, it doesn't matter. And that over time will slowly start to reprogram your mind. It does, doesn't it? Because you start to think the glass is half full rather than half empty.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you, one of my greatest lessons of my life was having a house fire.
Right.
And losing a lot of stuff in a very short space of overnight. Again, massive. I was so grateful to be alive that people couldn't understand why I wasn't affected by this fire in a deeper way, why I wasn't looking stressed, why I could work and do stuff. And I was like, I was so grateful to be alive. Like that, I literally was so grateful to be alive that all of the material things did not matter. And that's what this is, a kind of like a time for me. It could be really traumatic, and I thought, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go into trauma. I want to go into, right, how can I turn a negative into a positive? So this is what it's about for me. It's about alchemy. It's about changing, you know, what alchemy is from a chemical point of view, changing that base metal into gold. And that's what I'm doing. And so, you know, one of the things that you said there was so important about the mind, because, you know, it takes between 21 to 28 days to reprogram the mind. That's why, hence, you know, Deepak Chopra's meditation. You slow dripping tap over that amount of days. Eventually, you start to build momentum. It's like exercising a muscle. So if you're telling your brain, it's like a naughty little monkey. If you say to your brain, like literally, you're going to stop, and I'm not going to have this in this 5 minutes. I'm just going to do whatever, or I'm not going to think as many things, or I'm not even going to worry about thinking. I'm just going to be. Eventually your mind goes, okay, this is what you're doing, and it surrenders.
Yeah, surrenders.
But it takes time. You can't just do it like that. It's a process. That's why I said peace in the process. It literally is about, like, you know, slow dripping taps, little things you can do over time just to create, and eventually, boom, one day you wake up, like you say, and you think, this is amazing. I'm feeling amazing. I'm living my best life. That's what you want. And people go, Claire, how come you look so well? You look so well. And you think, I don't know, actually, but I might have had some negative thoughts, because we all do, or I might have had something disastrous happen or whatever with my family, or God knows whatever happens, you know, right? But it's how you handle it, and it's because I'm feeding myself every single day with little things that keeps me topped up. So yeah, I think journaling, documenting things is great. Emptying all your emotions and things onto a page, diarising, planning not to plan, you know, making sure you connect with nature and family and stuff as well. That's good for your mental state. Obviously, we've talked about eating well. So, you know, there's all those things, but yeah, for me, you know, combined, all these little things together have the biggest impact over time.
And this is the thing, you know, anxiety fundamentally is caused because of feeling of lack of control. You know, if you're not feeling anxious about this moment because we're safe, we're fine, we're healthy, we're panicking about tomorrow. And there are people that have real valid concerns, you know, am I going to be able to earn money? Am I going to put food on the table? And if, you know, the measures that are being put in place aren't enough. I understand that a lot of that worry about the future is founded for good reason. But here in this moment, in this time, in this space, actually, you know, we are blessed, we're safe, we're healthy. Yeah. Hopefully our loved ones are safe and healthy. And we have to accept that we don't have control over tomorrow. And I think for me, that has been the hardest thing to really come to terms with, because I've been grasping for some type of control. And in all of this, what I've not truly accepted is I don't have any control. I actually don't have any control over what is going on. And I have to...
But you know what's even more important? You never did.
I never did.
You thought you did. You thought you had control. You never did. Nature has shown us that 1,000 times over. Like literally.
You don't believe it.
Man still thinks that, you know, I am the highest of all highest. No. The wind changes direction and decides to go at 100 miles an hour. We can't control that. Nature will do what nature does. We need to be in tune with nature, as opposed to it being in tune with us.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. And the true nature things, if you watch nature just does what it does. Doesn't worry about tomorrow.
That's Rafi.
I love Rafi.
I love it. This is life in lockdown, guys. I'm having this with you, and he's just, and I was like, Rafi, you're not allowed to come in.
Hi, Rafi. He's so cute.
So serious, and he's just, oh, you know what?
No.
I love you. Bye bye. So this is the thing about life. You know, this is life. We don't control anything. I've tried to control the situation and circumstances, and that's what makes life so beautiful. Surrender.
Isn't it important? Isn't it beautiful that it happened just at that moment where we said, you think you've got control, but you don't. You've never had it. In fact, you've never had control.
And isn't it so beautiful that we can laugh? We can laugh and find some humour in this situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, for me, you know, as well, for people, I mean, I think it is about reaching out as well and connecting with like-minded people, or with people who, you know, raise you up.
Raise you up, that's it. Be with people, talk to people, surround yourself with people that raise you up. You have to keep your tribe strong. The ones that want the best for you, that support you, that lift you up and tell you how brilliant and wonderful.
Absolutely.
And the ones that you can be honest with and go, I'm having a shit day, terrible day.
Yeah.
Really, I feel like the worst mum and homeschooling's terrible. And then the other days we feel I had the best day today. Those are your circle, that's your tribe. And it doesn't matter how small that is. Those are the people that are going to be the most important to you during this time.
Exactly.
Claire,
And
Claire, kisses to you forever and ever and ever for doing this. You and I are going to do a series of these, aren't we? And we're going to choose different topics to do over the next few weeks, hopefully to invite conversation, invite people to try new things. We're going to be talking about feelings and spirituality and lots of different topics. So what are your parting words for everyone that's tuned in today? And I'm going to put a little link to Claire's Healing Heart Instagram. So if any of you want to reach out to her personally and ask her any questions, you can.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like, obviously there's a lot of people who were already in a mental state as well. This was my fear. This is one of the first things that I thought about in terms of fear was there's people who have got a lower level of you know, they're at a high level of, sorry, should I say, of anxiety and a lower capacity to cope. So for me, it was like, okay, what can we do? What can I do? What can be my thing? And obviously, you know, I do energy healing and I do all these things. I was thinking I can't do massages because I can't be physically there for anyone, but I can coach them online, and I can also do Reiki, you know, distant Reiki healing, which I've done with you. And, you know, it's amazing to still have that. So if people are struggling, one of my things is do not suffer in silence and do not suffer alone. Like, reach out to your nearest and dearest, but sometimes you might not want to speak to them. Look online. You can always hit me up, literally, you know, and I will provide whatever I can provide in terms of support in any way that I can, obviously, whilst we're in this situation. That's what I just wanted to say.
Okay.
And thank you, Henna, as well, for this. It's lovely.
My spiritual sister, I love you.
Thank you.
So today.